Okay, mm, today we are going to talk about how to write your problem statement, which is an important thing when we are developing a dissertation, because that problem statement functions as a kind of lighthouse for the rest of our work. We have always have to turn our heads toward this element in order to know what we have to do. Okay, but let's talk about what do you have to do before writing the problem statement. And this, I think, Adrian, will be very useful for you. Well, the first things that we have to take into account is list the topics that interest you. In other words, what areas of knowledge do you really are interested in? Because why this is important? Because when you select the areas of knowledge that you like to work with, you have to pay attention to your interest and ask yourself, well, am I really interested in studying this? And the answer is important because you are going to spend not less than 3 years working with that area of knowledge. So that's why it is important. Once you have written a list of topics that interest you, you evaluate them using a set of valid criteria. For this exact point, we at DoctoralNet have even an automation to do that. We have a list of criteria and also an automation in which you begin working, you and the computer, and then you will be able to evaluate each topic and see if it is really promising to develop a dissertation or if it is just something that you would like, but from the academic and research point of view, perhaps it's not the best one. So you are going to know that using our automation. Once you applied that criteria and evaluate each topic, you choose the research topic that is more promising. And how do you know that it is promising? Because when you are evaluating the topic, you are going to assign a point to each criteria or to each criterion that topic satisfies. And at the end, you will have an addition, a sum of those points, and you will easily know which is the most promising topic to work with in your case. Okay? When you have selected your research topic, the next step is identify research problems within the selected topic. And this is a very reflective stage of the process. In this moment, or to complete this phase, you have to think, okay, I like this topic. For instance, Adrian is interested in audit and control or finance. And then he begins to think of, okay, what things, what situations I can identify that are not working properly. What is going on there that there is a difference between what it is and what it should be? Okay? And those are possible problems to study. That's the way you identify problems. Of course, you can do it using your reflection and your knowledge about the area, but you can also ask other people You can even read previous dissertations in which all dissertations have a section which is called recommendations. And in that section, you can find lots of possible research problems for you to work with or to adapt to your specific context, okay? And you can also use a very old technique, which is observation. You can sit down and observe what is happening in your context in relation to that area, to that topic that interests you. All these procedures help you identify research problems within the selected topic. So now you will have a list of possible problems, and what the next step is to replicate the second step that we talk about and evaluate this possible research problem using a set of valid criteria. Here again, we at DoctoralNet provide you not only with the criteria, but also with an automation in which you begin telling the software, okay, this is my identified problem, and the software say, okay, is that problem, does this specific problem satisfy this criterion? And criterion by criterion, you are going to assign a point to the ones that your research problem satisfy, and 0 to the ones that they don't satisfy. At the end, you will have one research problem that seems to be promising because it satisfies many of the criteria specified. And I always suggest our students to choose another related problem, to use it as plan B. And you say, why? Well, this is sometimes you will have to change your research problem due to many problems. For instance, perhaps you are not able at the end to gather the data. And if you cannot gather the data, well, you cannot research the problem. But instead of beginning the whole process again, if you have a related research problem, a problem that has common points, common elements with the one that you selected, and that it is a little different, so you can work with it without beginning the whole process again. Okay, so let's suppose that you have that research problem and that second one. What is the next step? Well, the next step is related to the problem statement. But before talking about the problem statement, we have to talk about, or to think about, what is a problem statement, really? Well, it says, this is a definition, it is the specific description of what intrigues the researcher. In other words, you have to talk about, you have to think about what is the problem that is happening and how I can describe that problem to other people. So it's basically a description of something that for you is a problem. Okay? So we can say, generally speaking, that a problem statement includes briefly what is already known about the problem situation. And that establishes what is already known, establishes the context from which the research problem emerges. You also have to include what is unknown and deserves to be studied, which is in fact the research problem. And finally, you have to say why it is important to know about that problem. In other words, you have to talk about prior research, which is what is already known, what other people have studied about this problem that is related to your current problem situation, to your own context. Okay? Then you have to state what is not working. What is a known and deserved to be studied is what is not working. What is that element that should be between what is and what should be? And finally, when I say why it is important, then it means that you have to talk about the significance of a study focused on that problem. Well, you say, okay, I have to talk about at least those three elements, but how can I approach such a task? How can I do that? Well, you need to be aware of what you have to do. These six elements that should be present in a problem statement have been taken and adapted from this work, the Crothwolf and Smith, How to Prepare a Dissertation Proposal, Suggestion for Students and Education, and the Social and Behavioral Sciences. Let's have a look at these six elements. It says, well, the problem statement or the problem description should be brief, and it should show the problem's importance with a compelling opening statement. And this has to be with that element that, you know, when you want to sell something, you need to attract readers' attention. It's the same in a dissertation or a thesis. It's the same because you want to convince readers that you are studying an important thing, that what you have selected is worth, that you need to, that is important to study that. And the best way of doing that is using an opening statement that attracts the reader's attention, so that person wants to continue reading what you are saying. Okay, it also shows the problem in the perspective of the larger field of study. In other words, how does this problem relate to the larger field of study? How important, what are the relationships of this problem in relation to other studies in the same field of study? Is that important or not in that sense? It should also show how the problem generalizes to or across other issues or other fields. In other words, you have to talk about the relationship of your problem with other problems in the same field or with that is relation with other important issues. Okay? For instance, if you want to talk about a problem that is related to audit and control, how this problem is related to other issues of an organization that has some common elements to audit and control. And the fifth element is to limit the problem. Is it show the focus in on your study. So you have to be very careful to set the limits of your problem. You need to have the proper scope, not a not too broad problem or not a too narrow one. I can imagine an example of this. For instance, if you want to research a problem about a mouse, for instance, about a mouse, or about a cat, for instance, it is too broad to talk about not only cats, but also tigers and also lions and all those animals. But it is also too narrow to research one little thing that happens on the right ear of the specific type of cat. So a doctoral dissertation has to have a specific scope, not too broad, not too narrow. And you also need to give the reader a perspective of the whole study being proposed. So that means that you have to give the reader a hint about what the purpose of your study is. So let's put it into plain words. When it says, okay, what does it mean to be brief? It's easy, not more than 2 paragraphs. Okay, not more than 2 paragraphs. That means that if you can do that, you will satisfy a requirement for a problem statement, which is the 3 S's. In other words, short, simple, and straightforward. Think about that. Short, no more than 2 paragraphs. Simple and straightforward. Say what you are expected to say, and not more and not less. When we talk about compelling opening statement, what we are talking about is a sentence that catches the reader's attention to the importance of the problem. So just from the beginning, the reader can say, hey, this seems to be important, right? Then you have to talk about perspective of the larger field of a study. In other words, you have to talk about prior research that shows the need to study the problem and sets its theoretical framework. Okay? In other words, you put the problem, your selected problem, within a framework of what other people have done, and also of the theories related to that problem. Then generalization to or across other fields of study. It means that you have to link the problem to other relevant issues, fields, in order to support the impact of studying the problem. In other words, its implications. Its implications. I've already give you an example with when I talk about the previous slide. But once again, when we say limit the problem, it's state clearly what aspect of the problem you focus on. You cannot leave it in broad words, in a wide scope. You have to tell exactly what are you going to study. What is the aspect of that problem that you want to study? What aspect of audit and control you want to study, for instance? And this is, in fact, the description of the research problem that intrigues you. And if you think of that, that will be easy for you to write, because you are going to say exactly what intrigues you. What makes you think and say, hey, this is not working properly, and it should be a study in order to solve it, or at least to understand it better. And when we say give a perspective, is let the reader know what you really intend to do. As I said in the previous slides, is to state the purpose of the study, as well as the general approach that you will use to study that problem. Of course, this is the requirement that we have to be very careful with. You need to write not more than 2 sentences for each element in order to be brief. Remember that you have to write it down in not more than 2 paragraphs. Let's see an example, and perhaps you will have a better idea of what we are talking about. Look at this. This is a example that was taken from this work, the stakeholder scorecard, evaluated the influence of a stakeholder relationship on corporate performance. Okay, it says, researchers have argued that relationship capital is intrinsically linked to shareholder value. That is a compelling opening statement because it attracts your attention. And then these persons cite different prior research. That means that this person is linking their problem to the field of study. The problem is how to understand the empirical relationship between the quality of a firm's relationship with its stakeholders and shareholder value. In just 1 sentence, this person describes what is not working properly. It means that it's not clear for everybody how the empirical relationship between these 2 elements works. And that's the problem, because it is supposed that we need, or the people related to that field of study needs to know that. And it says, to confront this problem, I designed and tested a statistical model and instrument that enables researchers to empirically link a stakeholder-generated relationship capital to shareholder value. So it says the purpose, that is confront, solve the problem, and how this person did it. You know, depending on the reference style that your university requires, perhaps you are not allowed to say I design, but that depends on the guidelines of the university. If you use as a referencing style APA, you are not allowed to say I. But some universities like, especially in Europe, they like to see the use of the pronouns in this kind of. Okay, this is a for example. Let's see another example, a second one. It seems to be a little longer, but if we check it, it's just 2 paragraphs. In this case, it opens with digital photography is a recent, novel information technology that has been widely and rapidly adopted across a variety of domains. This is the compelling sentence that says, hey, open your eyes. I'm going to talk about something new, something that is on fashion. I would like to talk about digital photography. And it says, to understand the role of digital photography as a technology used in scientific work, and that's the purpose, this study will examine marine mammal researchers who use photo identification as a tool for gathering, organizing, and analyzing data about whales, dolphins, otters, seals, manatees, and other marine animals. So this is the purpose, and this is how they are going to, or this person is going to approach the situation. Okay, and that it seems from this purpose we can derive that there is a problem related to the role of digital photography as a technology used in scientific work. Then this person continues describing things. Many marine mammal researchers have recently switched from field to digital photography, and we'll see that the simply minor change has contributed to a number of fundamental alterations to the ways in which they do their scientific work. That's a description of a problem. The study itself examines the role of new technology entering scientific practice and regular use by focusing on digital photography. And now this person uses a quotation in order to relate the study with previous research. And again, it says the central goal of using this approach in this research project is to understand the consequences. And now it links this study to other studies in the same field of a study. Okay, so these are two examples of how you can apply the 6 elements that should be present in your problem statement. I know that, Adrian, you are just beginning and thinking about this, but when you are ready to write down your problem statement, you need to be to use these things and use this criteria in order to be ready. So you need to be brief, use a compelling opening statement, give a perspective of the larger field of study, generalize your study to or across other fields of study, limit the problem, saying exactly what you want to do, and give a perspective in relation to what you are going to do. In other words, is to state the purpose of your study. Okay? Once you write down the problem, that you have your problem statement, and that as we can see, Adrian is not ready yet to write it down, but now knows how to do it, then we are ready to evaluate the problem statement. And that means that you need some criteria to do that. And this is the criteria that we at DoctoralNet offer you to use. You need to talk, once you have written your problem statement, you take it and put it in front of you and ask, is it reading in not more than 2 paragraphs? If yes, you assign 1 point. If no, you assign 0. Does it open with a compelling statement? You do the same. Does it emphasize prior research? Does it contain a clear explanation of the research problem? And remember that this means that you describe exactly what is not working. Does it state the purpose of the research clearly? Does it summarize the theoretical foundation of the study? In other words, does it include other people, other works that talks about the kind of theories that you are going to use? Does it include the implication of the study? What is the impact, or what would be the impact of a study like that? Does it reflect the need for your study? And are all the previous criteria given in 1 or 2 sentences each? Once you apply those criteria and you add the points assigned to each criterion, then you will have, well, this slide was created in order to give you enough time to do that, but Adrian, you have not done that yet. But when you are ready to write your problem statement, you can apply it there. It was supposed that it was an interactive webinar, but not too many people come. Okay, once you add the points, you say, okay, how promising is my problem statement? And the big question is, do you think it can be the problem statement of your thesis of dissertation? And I say, yeah, I hope so. And the big question is, do you think it can be the problem statement of your thesis and dissertation? And I say that because it's not only a matter of adding points and say, okay, this is perfect from the point of view of from the academic and research point of view. No, you also need to have a feeling in relation to that problem statement, because at the end, you are going to spend at least 3 years working with this, and it will be a kind of marriage. And when you marry somebody, you not only say, okay, this is a good girl or a good boy and is intelligent, and add points for each one of the characteristic, positive characteristic, and delete 1 point for each one of the not so good characteristic. At the end, you need to love that person. And that's the same with the problem statement, you know. It's not only that, you also need to feel that you want to work with that problem statement for a long time. Okay? So, we can say that now you know what a problem statement is, how to write it, and how to evaluate its appropriateness. If you know that, I will be very satisfied after talking with you. Okay? Now I have here you have some links that we are sure that will interest you. These links takes you to these pages. Let me show you which one. The first one is PhD completion matters. We believe that the world needs more PhD people. Some people say that that's not the case because PhD have problem to have a new job or a new position and so on. And we think that it's not only a matter of money, of getting money, which is important. And if you have a PhD degree, of course, you are entitled to earn more money. But you say, well, I can earn a lot of money being a baseball player. Yes, but you need to be a very, very good baseball player in order to earn such a big amounts of money. But it's the same in the academic world too, you know. To be a PhD in the academic world, in the professional world, is the same as being the best baseball players, but within your own context. Okay, a PhD is a leader, and as the same way that a baseball player who used to have a lot of home runs, a PhD is good for leading other people, for writing important things, for creating new things, for having great ideas, okay, for being awarded a lot of prizes and that kind of thing. So we believe the PhD completion matters, and that is not fair that a student wants to get a PhD degree and invest a lot of time, money, and effort, and then at the end that person cannot get that degree because that person is not able to finish a dissertation or a thesis. And I say it is because that person is not good enough to do that? No. If that person has been able to get to that stage in the academic world, it means that it's an intelligent person. That person only needs some guide, needs to be guided. And that's what we provided, because we know that university professors have many things on their plates, and sometimes students get out of that plate. Well, we are here in order to help you do that. And the other link takes you to this page in which you see different options that could be useful for you in order to let us help you. Okay, different options according to different budget and different needs that you may have. But all of them have these points in common, which are especially our material that has been created specifically and also for our students, and also our expertise. We are professors that have spent a lot of time, many years, helping other students doing that, getting and finishing their dissertations. And for the last page that you can find is this is a survey that we are doing right now as part of the research, is that we want to know what students and what universities think about that idea that PhD completion matters. Because some persons, especially politicians, says that it's not important to have PhD degrees. And we think that PhD degrees help countries to achieve better quality of life. The societies are better when we have more